Hey guys, Rebel Engine 95, recording live from your local common prison cell. So this is a fight that got kind of moved around. Certain fights I didn't want to do yet. This just became a whole thing. Right now the fight schedule that I had is kind of just messed up because I realized like half of these are good in concept, but then when you get into like the analysis and you get into the actual it wouldn't make a good death battle. So like, give you an example. I saw a trailer for Kim Possible and Carmen Sandiego, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. But then I'm like, now that I think about it, she only fights in the Netflix version, so there's like she's not a fighting character. So like, it doesn't make sense to have her in a death battle. You know what I mean? So like, just stuff like that where I'm like, wow, why did I think to do this? Like, it's almost like I forgot that this is a fight to the death. This show's about fighting to the death. So anyway, yeah, so this fight got moved up, and people are gonna call me a hypocrite for this because I'm always shitting on the Marvel versus DC fights. However, I think this one's good not because like I always say like there are certain Marvel DC fights that I think should happen, but this one is good because even though it's Marvel versus DC, it's not the fight you would think the two characters would go again. Like, you wouldn't think both these characters would go against each other. And it's probably better that they do. There might be some like anime or game character that I'm not considering, but yeah, this works, I think. So this is shit, I forgot what order I had them in. Oh, whatever, doesn't matter. So this is Red Tornado from DC versus Vision from Marvel. See, because for a very long time, like, the Marvel DC fight with Vision in it was Martian Manhunter, but that was just off the basis that, they could both change their density. They have the same power. And I think that's kind of a lazy way to do a fight, especially when you have such a specific power as density, walking through walls and stuff. So, I think that's kind of lazy. That fight would be interesting, but there's no reason to have that fight other than they have the same power. Red Tornado, people would probably put him against, like, Whirlwind or something, but Whirlwind is such an obscure Marvel character that I wouldn't see any argument to put. I mean, Silver Samurai's been in a death battle, but that's, even then, compared to Whirlwind, he's got, a much better showing in terms of, like, his, and how much media he's been in. So, yeah, I just think this is, and then I saw these two, and I'm like, shit, now that you mention it, this is kinda good. So anyway, getting into it, and as always with comic book fights, there's 10,000 million fucking versions of these characters, and different backstories and origins and all this shit, so I'm not gonna, have the exact information that's up to date, or, my feats may be a little off, but I'm not gonna sweat it, because it's not gonna matter anyway. This fight probably won't happen anyway, to be honest with you. So yeah, Red Tornado, in the most recent backstory that I can remember, it's that Ron, the planet, has a wind elemental, what was it? It was, that was split into two beings, because I think it was something like he was, fascinated by the concept of good and evil. So he split himself into two beings, one good, one evil, one being the Tornado Champion, I believe it was called, and the other being the Tornado Tyrant. And the Tornado Champion eventually found himself going to Earth and inhabiting a lifeless android body built by the scientist T.O. Morrow, who's responsible for half the shit that goes wrong in DC, and essentially just in the process of embodying this robot shell, or becoming one with this robot shell, had wiped its own memories, essentially leaving the robot with no explanation of who he was, or who it was, I should say. And with these powers that went well beyond its original programmed capabilities. Uh, so with its newfound sentience, it went by the name Red Tornado, and it because it makes red tornadoes. So, there's probably some shit wrong with that backstory I just gave, but point is, he's a robot superhero who can do mostly normal people stuff. So, think Data from Star Trek, but we can shoot tornadoes now. Yeah, so with the, wind elemental um, attributes that he's been given, he can, create tornadoes, like I said. He can fly at, I believe, it was definitely above supersonic speeds. So I believe it was something like something absurd, like Mach 20 or something like that. Um, Superhuman durability, superhuman strength, resistance to elements. Like he's taken dips in lava before. Um, Things like that. He's got like an incredibly, supreme tactical supercomputer brain, that sort of thing. Able to, I think he had some sort of like borderline psychic ability. He can communicate with supercomputers. I know that's a thing. He's got, they've got a bunch of different power sets all the time. But yeah, and Red Tornado's kind of a, he's known. You know what I mean? It's like Booster Gold. He's known. He's not obscure necessarily, but he's heard of. Like he's been in shows. He's been in a lot of comics. He's been stuff. So it's not unreasonable to know, but I wouldn't expect people to like know everything about Red Tornado. Or if they think they know everything about Red Tornado, it's because they saw him in Young Justice or some shit. Vision. Similar problem, but with the cinematic universe. So Vision, again, so Ultron, in the original story built by Hank Pym, and ends up going insane, blah, blah, blah. And in that pursuit of destroying humans, for some reason, built a robot with the ability to understand and sympathize with humans. I think it was, I forgot the explanation. It was something like, I was built in the image of humans or something like, or I was built as the human's image of a robot, so I'm going to build a robot in the image of a human, and named him Vision because he was his vision of the future of what a robotic world would look like. But yeah, point is that backfires. Vision becomes a good guy and ends up, turning shit. So cool, free robot. Yeah, but again, gifted sentience completely against his will, and ends up having to cope with not understanding, living with humans and not understanding anything about it. And, but good thing he can fight, because otherwise, why would you? There'd just be a liability at that point. So, Vision's abilities are, superhuman strength at the point where he could match, he's matched Thor and Cap and all that. He's got, can shoot lasers. Like I said before, he could change his density. This doesn't just apply to being able to, like, make himself walk through things. He can also make himself, like, I think it said he could make himself, like, weigh several million tons in an instant. To the point where he's, just gotten on top of Iron Man and just, like, crashed him down into the surface. He's taken hits from the Hulk before. He's able to, again, something I think he probably got from Martian Manhunter was he's able to change his density so that he can put his arm inside a person and then, like, in a second become dense again and then go back to, like, shock their nervous system and make them pass out and stuff. Again, superhuman intelligence, superhuman durability, strength, flight as well, not to the degree of Red Tornado, I don't think, but superhuman flight. Well, all flight, I guess, is superhuman flight. In the cinematic universe, he had the Mind Stone. I don't think that's a thing, and I don't think that's the original purpose of that. But yeah, so the theme of this fight is definitely, robots becoming sentient and, like trying to live among us, like androids, if you will. they both do have human forms, because I mean, Vision can shapeshift. They can both shapeshift, but like not to like they can't turn into dragons or anything like that. Like they can just turn human. So like it's kind of, eh, like cool. It doesn't really. Um, yeah, but both were created by these scientists who were on the verge of, who were crazy, or if not on the verge of crazy, and gifted sentience. I mean, Vision was technically made by Ultron, who was made by a crazy scientist or an about to be crazy scientist, so that's whatever. But yeah, who would win this fight? So I think Red Tornado probably has a speed advantage, and probably has the advantage in terms of like raw power, not like in terms of super strength, but in terms of like being able to create like tornadoes and shit like that. The only downside is I think Vision pretty much takes it in every other category, and we've seen Vision withstand, like we've seen Vision withstand probably a lot worse conditions than. I mean, he's been in space. I mean, so is Red Tornado for that matter. But Vision, being able to be in space and like survive the vacuum of space and shit like that, and it's. I would very much argue that that's you know, like Vision could survive being hit by tornadoes. I don't see any problem with that, especially if he can change his density, which really I think is the biggest factor in this fight is the versatility that offers. Being able to just change his density to and phase through attacks, and then be able to just make himself weigh like 1,000,000 tons and shit. So, and also the fact that even though Red Tornado is, he has he's sentient and he has like this elemental spirit inside of him, he's still a machine, his body's still mechanical, and Vision being able to, go inside, scan him, and then go inside him and rip shit out like that, I can see being a thing. It would probably be something like, oh, well, if the body's broken, then his spirit becomes free, the tornado champion becomes free, and then Vision's got to fight him. Well, something tells me I just don't have any like evidence that would be too much for Vision to handle, but like something tells me that Vision would be able to like probably beat the tornado champion too. Um, Again, just taking hits from like the Avengers and shit. I think that they probably beat. Like, I'm not saying the Avengers are stronger than the Justice League, but this is a very minor Justice League character that I don't think measures up to like the mainstay Avengers. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't like a I think Vision's probably got the tornado champion as well. So yeah, I'm gonna say Vision wins this. I mean, I think it'd be. Some might say that, oh, well, this is one sided, you shouldn't do Red Tornado. I think that these two are the most similar that you could probably get out, in terms of two characters like this, and I think that they're close enough that it justifies having the fight, even if one is definitely going to win. Um, so, I think that this probably, like, it's not so one sided that I'd say this fight shouldn't happen. It's not like Ryu Goku or something. It's like this is definitely a fight that could happen, and I think it should happen, to be honest. But yeah, I think Vision probably almost definitely takes it. But anyway, yeah, Verbal Engine 95. See ya.